Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to teach you how agencies build testimonial sections clients can update themselves without installing additional plugins. Hi, my name is Kenu and I'm a full stack software developer. My goal is to help you learn WordPress design professionally so that you can build professional websites for your clients and earn money doing so. This video is a continuation from our real estate portfolio website series where we built a complete real estate portfolio website on WordPress and Elementor. In that series, we created custom post types that would help our clients manage things like their properties and team members without using additional plugin. In this video, we're taking it a step further. I will be creating a testimonial custom post type that will help our clients easily manage testimonials that are added to the website. This is good for two reasons. One, it makes it easy for your clients to manage all by themselves without having to reach out to you. And secondly, it also makes it easy for you to manage without the excessive overload of additional plugins. This video is broken down into three separate steps. In step one, we'll be setting up the custom post type using secure custom fields for our testimonials. In step two, we'll build out the testimonial template using a dribble design that I found. And then in step three, we'll be adding that testimonial to the homepage of our website. So without further ado, let's jump in. As you can see on my screen, this is the real estate portfolio websites that we've been working on. If you haven't seen how I built this template from the ground up, please check the channel or I'll link a video somewhere at the top. Once logged in, what we want to do is make sure you already have the SCF plugin installed. It's called Secure Custom Fields. You can search for it within the plugin repository on WordPress. So I already have it installed. So I'm going to click on Post Type, and this is to help me create a new post type for testimonials. So click on Add New and type Testimonials. And for the singular name, we'll call it Testimonial. Now, the post type key is going to be added automatically by the plugin, and we can just look at some other things that I would like to change. One thing I always like to change is to change the icon of the custom post type. It makes it easy for you to identify on the WordPress dashboard. So with that selected, all we have to do is go into visibility, and then right here you would see icon. So I'm going to pick like a message bubble. I think that works best for this use case. And then I'm going to save the custom post type. Now, bear in mind that for every custom post type you create, it comes with three default fields, which is the title, the content area, and the thumbnail. So if you think about it conceptually for our testimonials, for the thumbnail, we are going to, that will be the picture of the person giving the testimonial. For the title, that will be the name of the person giving the testimonial. And then for the body content, that will be the content of the testimonial itself. But there's one more additional field I would like to add. And this is kind of like the designation of the person giving the testimonial, maybe things like where they work or their current designation in their place of work. That is very important for testimonials. So to set that up, we need to create what we call field groups. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard and click on field groups, and I'll add a new field group. For this, I'll call it testimonial field group. So the first field you're going to add is going to be the designation. So for the field label, I'm just going to type designation. And the default values are fine. For the validation, you can choose to make it required and you can choose not to. But in this case, I will make it required so that that is provided. And that will help create consistency across all the testimonials that are on the website. So with that done, that is the only field group that we need. We can click Save Changes, and that is saved. Now, the final thing we are going to do under the field group, make sure you have it opened. So I'm still on the testimonial field group page. So under settings, all we have to do is ensure that this shows up where the post is equal to testimonial. That's it. Now we can save changes. So the next thing we are going to do is go into testimonial, click on add testimonial just to see how it is displayed. Now we have our meta boxes with designation. We also have our title, our content area, and then we can also set a featured image. With our testimonial custom post type finally set up, the next step is to add a couple of testimonials that will be used as a guide when we are building the templates that will be displayed on the homepage of our real estate portfolio website. So I'm going to go ahead and add a few testimonials, and we'll move to the next part, which is actually building out the testimonial template. Let's go ahead and add the first testimonial, after which I'll add the rest, and then we'll move over to designing the templates. For the first testimonial, I already have it written out, so I'm just going to copy and paste it. So remember, the title will be the name of the person giving the testimonial. And then the designation will be home seller. And then finally, the testimonial content itself. Yeah, so it's pretty short: title, testimonial content, and designation. Lastly, we are going to add the featured image, which will be the image of the person giving the testimonial, the portrait image, that is. So I'm going to drag an image and then just drop it here. Now that that's loaded, let's set it as a featured image and then publish. Now I'll go ahead behind the scene to add the remaining testimonials, so you don't have to watch me do that, and after which we'll work on the testimonial templates for the homepage. Now that all our testimonials have been added, let me go back to the WordPress dashboard, and you can see right here we have 5 testimonials. The next thing, let me introduce you to the testimonial style that I'm going for. So this is a grid card style with 3 testimonials in display, and then you have like a carousel where you can go back and forth. This design was done by this user. I'm not going to mention the name so that I don't murder it. Please forgive me. But this is the kind of style that we are going for. You have a quotation mark at the top left. You have the content, and you also have details of the person that gave the testimonials. So without further ado, let's go back to our WordPress website, go into Elementor, under editor, click on templates. So this time around, we are building the actual design to display our testimonials. So the first thing I want to do is click on add new templates, and I'm going to make this a loop item and leave the source as post, and then we are going to call this testimonial loop item. Now let's close this and we can start to build our templates. So what we are looking at is a card, and then we are going to add some of these elements within the card. So let's go back to our templates. First, I'm going to add a section. Okay. Now this section, I'm going to set the background color to white first. I know it's not visible, but it's important we do that. Next, I'm going to set the border radius to around 10. I might choose to update this later. I'm just building off the top of my head based on the design. So I'm going to set this to 10 for now. And just for now, let's add a bit of content so that we can see what we are working with. So the first thing I want to do, let's go back to this template. If you take a quick good look at it, you can see you have quotes mark on the left and then stars on the right. Okay. The next thing you would notice is this is a section of this design. This is another section, and this below is the final section. So let's make sure we have 3 separate sections within our parent wrapper container. So I'm just have it clicked and then click to add another container. Now for this container, I'm going to duplicate it 3 times so that gives us our 3 separate sections. So for the first section, we are going to add a quote. To do that, I'm going to use an icon. So I'm going to go into add element and I'll search for icon. Click on that. That adds the icon within the container. The next thing I'm going to do is change this to a quote icon. And then I'm going to align it under style to the start position. I think I'm liking this color, but I'm just going to reduce the opacity. And next, we can add our post content within the second container just below it. So go into add elements, dragging the post content into the second container, right? And for the third container, I'll come back to this in a bit, but first we need to make some changes so that we can see our testimonials. So first go into loop settings. This will help us set our preview to the testimonial post type itself. So under preview settings, we want to change post to testimonial and then click apply and preview. So that is looking good so far. Next, this container, let me go back to the design so that I can show you quickly. For the final container, we have two sections, okay? We have one section for the thumbnail, and then we have another section for the name and the designation. So to do that, we already have the container here. So I'm going to click on add element and add a new container. Now this container is added within the third container. So with this container selected, first I'm going to make some changes. There's a default padding around it. I need to get rid of that. So you go into advanced and then under padding, you set that to 0. Now I'm going to duplicate this container. So now we have two containers within our third container. So with the third container selected, I'm going to set the item directions under layout to row. So that puts both containers side by side. And I'm going to adjust the first container, the width of the first container. Make sure you have percentage selected. I'm going to set this to around 30%. And then the container to the right is 70%. So for the first container, I'm going to add the image, which is going to be featured image. I'll drag that from here into the first container. And I want to set the image resolution to custom. This will help me specify it as a square image. So I'm going to set this to 740 by 740 and then hit apply. Next, I'm going to set up the border radius, set this to percentage, and then give this 1 second percentage, and then give this 100%. So we have a nice rounded thumbnail, just like we have on the design reference. Now, with that done, I'm going to select the container to the right, and this is where we drag in the post title, which in this case represents the name of the person giving the testimonial. So I'm going to set this to like a H3 tag, and I'm going to make some changes to the style. So the first thing I'm going to do is set this to ems, and then we'll give it like 1.2 ems. And next, we want to make sure that we set the font weight to bold, and we also need to change the font color. So let's change that to black. With that done, the next thing we're going to do is to add the designation. So to do that, I'm going to just drag a heading tag just underneath the name. I'm going to select this heading tag and then change it to like a H4 tag or maybe H5, thereabouts. And then for the content of the title, I'm going to set this to click on the dynamic tags, scroll down to the bottom where you have SCF fields, and then click on it again. And this time around, we want to select the designation from testimonials. We already have designations for the team fields group, but this time around, we need the designation from the testimonials. So I'm going to select that, wait for it to load. Now we need to style it, make it smaller, and then make the text a bit grayish. So I'm going to change this to around 13 pixels. Make sure that the font weight is normal. Just for styling purposes, we can transform it to uppercase and then reduce this to around 12 pixels and then increase the letter spacing slightly. So for the color, I'm going to go with a light gray color right around there. And that is looking good so far. So now we need to make some changes to the margins and the gaps between elements. So I would select this particular one and set the gap under layout. You have gaps. I'll send the gap to 5. That's good. And then I'll make sure that this is set to column, but we are going to justify the content to the center. So that matches with our thumbnail. So this is looking good so far, and I feel like we are almost done. The only thing I would like to do is change this text color, make it black, and then maybe add a border shadow, or rather a box shadow. So I'm going to click on the parent container here, go into border. Under box shadow, you click on the edit icon. That immediately adds a shadow to it, and we are just going to reduce the opacity like so, and then move the shadow vertically down so it's just slightly elevated from the bottom. All right, that looks good. So now I'm going to publish my template, and our template is now published. So in the third part of this video, we'll be adding the template as a carousel to the homepage of the website. To do that, let's go back to Elementor. Rather, let's go back to the WordPress dashboard. Go to the homepage of the website. Back on the homepage, we are going to decide where we want the testimonials to be displayed. I will display it right after the team members, just before our footer area. So somewhere around here. To do that, let's click on Edit with Elementor. This will help us edit the homepage of the website. Scroll down to the bottom, add a new section. And just to create a difference between sections, I'm going to make this a light shade of gray. So with the container selected, let's go into Style, Background, make sure you have Classic selected, and then click on the color. And here we're just going to set it to a light shade of gray, very light shade of gray. Next, I'm going to make some adjustments to the padding so that there's room above and below. To do that, we go into Advanced, make sure you still have the section selected. Let me change this, the unit of measurement, to ems, and then we can set the top to 4 ems, the right to 1, the bottom to 4 as well, and then the left to 1. Next, we're going to add a loop carousel, but before we do that, I'm going to add 2 containers into this container for the purpose of separation. So make sure you have the parent container selected, go to Add Element, and then click Container. For this container, I'm going to reset the padding, set it to 0, and then let's duplicate that. With this duplicated, make sure you have the second container selected, because for the first container, we are going to add a title. Let me just do that now and say what people are saying. And then for the style, we are going to change the text color to black. And maybe the font weight, we're just going to make it slightly lighter, and also change the HTML tag, change it from H2 to H3. Next, we select the second container, go to Add Elements, and then search for Loop Carousel. Drag that into the second container. Now we are going to select the template that we created. And to do that, we just have to type a few words and it will pop up. So we have that selected. Let's leave the number of slides to 6, slides to display, set that to 3, slides to scroll, 1. This is fine. And then for the query, we'll change the source from post to testimonials. Now you can see the testimonials properly displayed in a carousel, and it auto scrolls by itself. The next thing we need to do is publish. Wait for that to save, and then hit the preview button so that we can see what it looks like on our homepage. So we scroll all the way down, and here you can take a look at it. So there are a couple of things I need to make changes to. First, the border to the sides of the testimonial as it scrolls is cut out. That will be adjusted using padding. And then next, I feel like the shadows are too heavy, so I need to reduce that as well. So let's go back to the home page. Now within the home page, we can click on Edit Templates to edit the testimonial template directly. One more thing I need to mention is if you take a look at the details of the testimonial, you would see that some of them are to the bottom and some are slightly off the bottom of the card. Now, this is as a result of the varying length of the text that is within the testimonial, right? Now, to fix this, we need to set this to an absolute position and make sure that it is positioned at the bottom. I'll show you how to do that now. First, let's go back to homepage, make sure that we have it published, and head back to WordPress. Now let's go back to the WordPress dashboard, and under Elementor, go to editor and then templates. Make sure you click on all templates if your templates are not displayed. Elementor can be quirky. Next, we want to edit the testimonial loop template. So let's click edit with Elementor. So the first thing I'm going to do is select the parent container, go into advanced, uncheck, we want to adjust the padding. So I'm going to uncheck this, set the paddings to EM. And for the top, let's give it 1, for the right 1, for the bottom, let's give it around 3 Ms, and then for the left 1 M as well. So with this done, we need to select the third and final container. This is what we are going to set to an absolute position to make sure that it is always at the bottom, irrespective of the size of the text that is within the container. So make sure you have the third container selected, go into advanced, scroll down, and under position, you change this to absolute. Okay, so this placed it above, but we are going to make some changes now to align it properly. So the first thing is we set this vertical orientation to bottom. So that brings it back to the bottom. As you can see, it's overlaying our text. That means we need to increase the padding of the card for the bottom. So let's make sure that we have the parent container selected. And then on the bottom, let's increase this to around 6 Ms. Now, while we are here, the avatar, it looks quite big. So I'm going to just reduce this to around 20, let's say 18, 20%. That looks a lot better. And then for the name, let me make that 1 M as well. Okay, so one final thing we are going to do is add padding to the third container so that it flushes with our text and our quotation mark icon. So to do that, let's come here, make sure that the values are linked, set this to, make sure it's at pixels so that we can have fine-grained control. And then we just increase it until we'll feel like, okay, it looks like a good match. Now that we have that, you can see that the gap between this and this looks very good, and it is perfectly positioned at the bottom. The final thing we are going to make changes to is the shadow. It feels a bit too bright. If you go back and take a look at it, you can see because the shadows are overlapping, it looks a bit too dark. So I'm going to reduce the brightness of the shadow. So with the container selected, let's go back to style, then border, and then box shadow, and then just drop this opacity, drop the transparency a bit more, and then hit publish. Now we can come back to the home page, refresh it, and see what that looks like. Yes, this looks a lot better. You can see that all the testimonial cards are at the bottom with the name and picture. This is looking a lot more cleaner, and the user can scroll using the arrow buttons or using the dot pagination from the carousel. So this is looking good. I hope this video has helped you, and you're finding more and more ways to use secure custom fields to help create custom post types that can be managed easily by your clients or by yourself. So if you made it to the end of this video, you definitely found it useful. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share this video with somebody who needs it. It helps the channel grow and helps us reach more people just like you. Thank you, and I will catch you in the next video.